implies bad buy.
Probability is higher.
So how would we figure out whether or not, like, what make and model?
So you could look at overall overall if you have 100 cars.
Yeah.
And then you look at all the makes and models and you kind of take the percentages and was this, I'll make this, 20% of the Nissans were bad, but on average only 5% of the cars, and that could be an indicator.
Okay, so this is in some sense a hypothesis for kind of further exploratory data analysis, or EDA, as we're going to refer to it. Here, so I'll say that for me, the worst car that is ever made will always be a 1989 Ford Taurus station wagon, and that's based on a sample size of 1. But I still firmly believe that car is the worst car ever made. And so, I would go and look, and that would be one particular car I would look at. Probably I'm wrong on that, but you could imagine, diving into the data and trying to identify certain makes and models. Ryan?
I think quantitative variables you could do, like the odometer reading.
Okay, so odometer and the prediction here, since it's quantitative, what's the specific prediction?
Probably like higher odometer results in lower quality cars.
So higher odometer, that means the probability of bad buy goes up.
Yes.
Plus the year.
Yeah, I'd caveat that with the year.
The year and the odometer reading.
So you're now talking about something like an interaction. So are you still predicting that just in general odometer goes up, bad buy goes up?
Correct.
Correct.
Unless the car year is before, I think, 1980.
That's before they switched to the computerized.
Yeah, the odometers that you can't mess with.
I see. Okay, so you're saying
Falsified odometer readings.
Okay, so now you're worried about suspicious odometer, the odometer being rolled back.
Yeah.
So this is with a caveat.
Do you agree? Because you were saying the same thing. Okay,
Agree.
Okay. So that's a caveat. The odometer might be rolled back.
For older vehicles.
We could. So this would specifically be older. Okay. Were you worried about that? Okay. Weston.
Previous use case, was it a fleet vehicle? Was it a daily driver?
Do we have that in the data?
No. But
Okay.
maybe you can try and extrapolate that.
So if there's something that in the data that you think might tell us that, we could think about that. But we're going to try to test some of these hypotheses here in a second.
They have the Carfax, but they don't have some of the data that's in the Carfax. Like that's exactly what I was thinking of. You can see whether it was registered to a company that is a business vehicle, right, versus a personal vehicle. But they do get Carfaxes, so why wouldn't they use that data that they acquire for their customers as well?
Okay, so maybe there's data that they have that we don't have, and then we could extend this. We don't have it right now, can't test it. That's just a limitation of what we've got. But a fair point for Carvana in general. What else would you predict here? Rosalind?
Certain auctions might have bad buys.
Okay, certain. So again, this is something more like, some kind of auctions. This might happen, but again, this is an indication of kind of exploratory data analysis. Pat?
Right, so use one of the insurance, I don't know if it's a true thing or not, right, but the color of the car, the reds
Okay.
and the yellows, the flashy colors tend to be with the younger kids that want to be flashy and maybe don't drive as well.
So your prediction is something like red increases the probability of bad buy?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Harlan?
I think maybe the estimated cost of maintenance.
Estimated cost of maintenance. Do we have this?
Forecasting. I don't know if it's in the sheet.
It's not. I don't believe that there's that we can pull that out of the data. But I mean, that would be certainly if we knew that. It'd certainly be interesting. Mark?
Transmission type. I mean, generally people that have a manual will drive harder than.
Okay, so you're predicting manual implies bad buy. Okay. Andrew.
If vehicle B cost is greater than MMR acquisition auction average price.
Okay. So the vehicle acquisition cost paid for the vehicle at time of purchase.
Yeah. So if you paid more than if you paid less than the average.
So let's interpret this vehicle B cost carefully here. So this is all data that we're given before the auction happens.
Right.
So this vehicle P cost is not the data, the price that was paid at auction for it, right? I think where you're going with this is that, like, if you paid less than the average price at auction, it's probably a worse car, right?
Yeah.
But this is what did you pay when the car was bought previously to coming to auction, right? So like, you know, I bought a brand new Camry, and then eventually it ends up at auction. That's the price I paid for the brand new Camry.
Got it. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This data, to Pat's earlier point, like the data generating process is not obvious sometimes. Also super important how we interpret these things. And that's part of the understanding the business context. Ryan.
Vehicle age.
Okay, what's the prediction there?
Higher vehicle age means bad buy also increases.
Okay. Dennis?
So, more to what I think Andrew was trying to get at, I think you can use those acquisition prices to kind of gauge what people are paying for against what the historical average should be, which
I see.
kind of indicates a demand of, you would assume, value.
Okay, but we're not looking for value here. We're looking for bad buys. There's a question that we probably won't answer,
But
which
if
is
value goes up, your bad buy is likely going to go down, right?
okay.
have
So
a-
you're saying vehicles. So
A bad buy is not worth very
kind
much
of the
money.
wisdom of the masses. If
I see. Okay,
Yeah,
so if you're
so-
saying that the price is dropping more than average in some sense, like
No, if the price is going up above what the average was, then that means that there's probably value in that vehicle and it was underpriced before, which means it's probably not a bad buy. That's the way I'm
okay.
interpreting the data.
What does going up mean?
So if the masses are paying more than the historical average for a make and model vehicle, then typically they're seeing the previous prices as undervalued.
Okay.
So there's probably value in that car that's not being claimed, and so they're buying it, which means it's probably a good buy.
Gotcha. Okay, so I will. So I suspect that if you looked at vehicle B cost minus most of these metrics, you'll see it's a positive number, meaning that the prices have been dropping simply because car prices depreciate over time. But I think the point is fair that, like, if there's an average depreciation rate and you're paying at something above that average depreciation rate, like your car is not depreciating as much as possible. Like Toyota Camry, it turns out, you know, the Toyotas hold their value super well. Then that's more likely to indicate a good buy. And so let's say, you know, I don't know how to indicate that. You guys all follow it.
Dennis, you looking
But it's worth thinking about how to represent that in the data. Pat, I've seen your hand up.
Nationality.
Nationality.
Yeah, Yugoslavia.
The average
Go buy
price
it.
keeps going up.
Okay, very particular. Yugoslavia implies bad buy. Okay, well, we've got lots of hypotheses. Let's actually see if we can get some out here. Let's see here. Ali, do you have some Tableau, or would you be willing to drive us through some Tableau visualizations?
I do not have that skill set.
Do you have Tableau installed?
I actually don't.
Okay. So the instructions for today's assignment were to install Tableau ahead of time. So make sure that when you're coming in for class that you've gone through the instructions and done what's in them. So who has Tableau installed? Let's see. All right.
So we got the instructions that we were going to go through this stuff with class. We just needed to be aware of the syllabus and read the material, but not actually do anything.
That was